back. So I think I kind of messed up the open there, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Episode 4 of the Disney Plus original series Loki miniseries came out yesterday, and I think we finally got an interesting episode, a very interesting episode. So let's get into it. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
So if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend you check out my review of the Tomorrow War, which comes out tomorrow. That's the Amazon Prime original movie, the Chris Pratt movie. Comes out tomorrow. Again, Amazon Prime. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's a spoiler-free review, so if you want the 10-second version, watch it. It's really good. I highly recommend it. Good action, funny, kind of silly at points, but I recommend it. It's really good. So there you go. In case you wanted to save yourself 10 minutes. I don't suggest that you do. I suggest you watch the whole thing because I actually go into a little bit more detail, but whatever, doesn't matter. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World, streaming on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World. Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you want to join me at 2 p.m. ish. Today's 2 p.m. ish, so there you go. I'm still kind of right there. Anyway, so. Like, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It really helps me out. It's a, it's a slow, steady process. Like I've mentioned before, big changes coming soon. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they will be announced in about 8 to 10 days, maybe. What is it? 10 days? I don't know. A couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting. It's big things in the horizon, I think. Hopefully. Maybe. Anyway, so let's get into this. So let's talk about the TV show Loki, and I just need to double check one thing, because this, I am worried because it's already failed me before. So let me just do this. Yep, I knew it. It's messing with me. Stupid technology. Why does it keep doing this to me? When you have things set up one way and it just decides, you know what, fuck you, we're just gonna do our own thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. Here we go. So episode 4 of the TV show Loki is honestly probably the most interesting episode so far. It's dealt with a lot of very interesting issues. And the most important thing to me that I believe came out of the whole thing is that they kind of, well, the most important thing, not story-wise, but they opened up possibilities for other things. And so a lot of conjecture, a lot of let's say theories have come out of it, and a lot of what can I say? Well, what's a nice way of putting it? Dumb stuff. Not dumb stuff. Like it had a little bit of BS, but overall, like, it's mostly interesting, and I like speculating. Speculation is always fun when you're talking about a mystery show or something like that. So I'm happy with it. It's probably the episode that I've enjoyed the most. But the big issue with it is that it started with a lot of BS, and the BS is something that really, really gets to me. Like, I don't know why. It's just it's really upsetting. But whatever. Let's go through. Let's do our usual thing and just go through the whole episode. By the way, I was just stalling there because for some reason this thing was not opening and messing with me. But there you go. All right, so let's go through the full screen and let's go through the entire episode, and then I'll kind of break it down a little bit. So the episode begins with us seeing basically the backstory of Sylvie. That's the female Loki, and why she was taken from Asgard and all that stuff. And that actually it's the agent who arrests her is the one who's like the judge. I don't think they've even said her name. And if they had, I don't remember it. So it's her. I'm going to call her the judge for now. And so it's the judge back when she was a rookie. That's when she arrested Sylvie, took her to the TVA, and ultimately she ended up escaping from her. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is it that somebody who lets a little girl escape get promoted to judge? Bureaucracy, man. Usually the worst people are the ones that get promoted. So there you go. That's how that works. Fun. It's fun working for that particular group. Anyway, so it's we get to see that she's the one that responsible that female Loki's on the run. We also get our first look kind of at I guess we can't see it here. Well, they'll show up eventually. We get the first look at the timekeepers, and you're like, oh my god, those dudes look scary. So it the episode begins with a argument between Mobius and the judge trying to figure out like, hey, what the hell are we gonna do? And he wants to figure out what happened to he wants to interview the agent that kind of lost her mind a little bit, but the judge tells him that she's dead, basically. So let's move on. Again, this is not something that's particularly relevant. And here we go to Sylvie and Loki. Now, last time we saw them, they were on a planet that was about to be destroyed. In fact, the planet was kind of already in shambles. It was about to, collapse. And now they're in a very calm situation, which immediately to me was like, they're gonna come up with bullshit. We left them in a very chaotic mess, and now they're kind of just sitting there chatting, and they're having a heart to heart, and they're sharing stuff, and they're starting to get a little bit closer or whatever. And so this is a very long conversation. So as they're seeing that the world is starting to get destroyed, the TVA kind of gets like a hint that that there's the blip in the timeline. And so, as the world's about to be destroyed, and the two Loki start coming together, they the TVA sees this hit in the radar, and they go over and they basically send them like an escape. So, I guess it didn't show on this particular thing. Let me see if I can find a better shot here. What is it? Nope, no, stupid. Anyway, I guess I didn't find a better shot. Whatever. So here here stuff starts giving me bullshit. So I guess I'll explain it without having to show it. So the two Lokis are starting to come together, and it's maybe like they're falling in love or whatever. And as they're falling in love, there starts being a blip, in an anomaly in the timeline, and it's like a crazy anomaly like they've never seen before. So the TVA assumes that's what they are, and they send them a portal so they could escape and that particular timeline, and they get arrested at the TVA, right? And this, if you've been paying attention so far, and if you paid attention 2 episodes ago, that kind of goes against absolutely every single rule that they've given us in the show so far about anomalies. Like I don't know if you guys remember this, but we went through an episode where they very specifically show that before apocalyptic event, anomalies don't happen, not even a little bit. So why an anomaly would happen because two Lokis start liking each other right before they're about to die makes no sense to me, because I don't know if you guys know this, but they were about to die. And so when you're about to die, nothing really matters. There's no consequences because you're kind of about to die. So the show starts off in a very, very low point, because I told it, and I called it last episode. They're gonna use bullshit to fix it. They're gonna try to justify it with bullshit, and it's fucking bullshit that they did that. It really annoys me. They're breaking the rule that they set up a couple of episodes ago, so they can go fuck themselves. But anyway, let's continue. If you can let go of that, let's continue. So they're taken to the TVA, and they're separated, and I guess Loki tries to. I guess they try to make Loki funny, saying that why does she has more guards than I do, blah blah blah. And Mobius is pissed that Loki betrayed him, and so Mobius is pissed that Loki tried to betray him, even though his agency's trying to kill him. So I don't think you have the moral high ground there, but whatever. So he puts him in a little punishment loop where what's her name? One of the characters from Thor, I forget her name. They even set the name, but I don't remember. Anyway, so she shows up and basically is kicking him in the nads every once in a while and saying really hurtful stuff. And so he's in this loop for a while. And I guess they're trying to break his spirit, his heart, or whatever. In the meantime, Mobius, he just got told that Loki tells Mobius that, hey, by the way, they're lying to you here. It's all a lie. And Mobius is like, yeah, right. Like, I'm gonna believe a Loki. So he tries to convince the boss once again to let him go interview the female Loki, because he doesn't think the male Loki is the mastermind, and he wants to go interview the agent that he talked about before. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he ends up talking to this agent whose name I don't remember. I think it's C40. The girl who beat up Loki, and the black girl, the buff girl who kind of who arrested Loki in the beginning. Anyway, he mentions what Loki said, and she's like, wait, he said that, and from that point on, she kind of starts feeling a little bit weird, I guess. If you guys remember, she was also put under the spell by Sylvie a few episodes back, so it's it's understandable if she's a little bit shaken or whatever. So moving on. Actually, Mobius says something interesting there about, they captured Kree and Titans and stuff like that. It's vampires. It's interesting. It's kind of like hinting at something, but again, I'm not gonna push too hard there. There's an interesting theory out there about where they are and all these things, but I'm not gonna push too hard in there because the show hasn't given us that information, or the MCU hasn't really given us much of that information. So I'm not gonna push anything there, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, they had this conversation, and Loki's finally good and kind of broken. He asks for forgiveness and whatnot, and he just admits that he's a narcissist and he likes attention, and that's why he's mean. Blah blah blah. Mobius then shows up, and he tries to interrogate him, and he lies basically and says that Sylvie's dead to show that Loki actually cares and who's the actual mastermind, and it's a kind of an a-hole trick. But the important thing here is that Loki tells Mobius, "Hey, you're a variant. Okay, you're all variants. You're all being lied to. I don't know what's happening." That's the key thing to take from that conversation. There's a lot of stuff that happened there, but the most important, and honestly, it's a great bit of acting. But the most important thing is that he told him that he's a variant, and Mobius is like, "Yeah, I kind of don't believe you. You're Loki." So he ends up sending Loki back to his little confinement loop, and the conversation's over. So after that, Mobius leaves the room, and he's a little bit shaken, and C40, I believe that's her name, is also visibly shaken. So she decides to go into interrogate the female Loki, Sylvie. So she goes in with Sylvie, and she sets up a portal where they can get the hell out of there. So they leave, but it's not exactly clear where they go. In the meantime, Mobius is finishing out the documents with the judge, and the judge basically is trying to be like, "Hey, good job, we did a good thing, blah blah." And Mobius is trying to milk information from her about C20, the agent who went crazy, and he's trying to figure out what the hell happened to her because something's not adding up. And ultimately, again, this is a long drawn out conversation, but the ultimate thing that happens in this particular conversation is that he ends up switching her travel device with his. So they imagine like switches their phones. So he switches their phones. I'm gonna assume the travel device is like their phones. So he ends up switching them out, and then he heads over to and he leaves the office. Anyway, in the meantime, C40 is talking to Sylvie outside of apocalyptic event. Which, by the way, this again breaks another rule that they'd already set up about not being able to go back in time in a particular timeline that they'd already been, or for one reason or another. I guess if it's been pruned, it works, but still, let's just say, I'm calling bullshit here, but whatever, doesn't matter. They've already broken the biggest rules, or what's another fucking rule? Anyway, this is why time travel sucks. Anyway, so they have this conversation where the girl is basically like, "What I saw was it real? Was it really real? I was happy." And she was like, "Yeah, that's real. I don't make stuff up." And so she basically liberates her mind or whatever, right? It liberates her memories of her past life that the TVA had been suppressing. In the meantime, Mobius, aka Owen Wilson, goes to the library, and he starts checking out going through the judge's phone, and there he finds the video of C20, the confession that she's making, or the interrogation of her, and how basically it was terminated by the judge. And it's like, all right, now this is done. And she was basically killed at that point because she was saying like, "No, it was real, and the TVA erased my memories, blah blah blah. What I saw was real." Anyway, so that's when Mobius is like, "Oh shit, I'm helping the baddies. We're the baddies." And so he goes over to Loki, and he's like, "Hey, Loki, I believe you. Let's get out of here. All right, let's take down the timekeepers. I'm on your side now." Which is fine. So they decide to make this kind of little plan to get out of there. And as soon as they get out, boom, judge and 4 guards are there. So they're going to fucking nowhere. So long story short, Mobius tries to talk his way out of it. Doesn't work. And he ends up getting basically killed with the weird sticks things that they have there. And at this moment, I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome. Because it's the first time we actually seen like consequences on the show. I was like, that was fucking great. It sucks that they killed off Owen Wilson, but it was fantastic that they actually did something that matters. You know, in the long run, they did something that matters. So that was exciting. So that was a good thing. I did not see it coming. And just, you know, like Loki's gasping here, like, that's how the audience is like, they killed off Owen Wilson? What? What? Anyway, so Loki gets, you know, taken out of there. They go and pick up Sylvie, and they're taking them over to the Timekeepers where they want to witness their execution for one reason or another. So they go up to the Timekeeper's office through the golden elevator along with the judge. And the judge basically tells Sylvie, like, hey, you know what? I don't remember what your variant was, basically because you weren't important. And that pisses off Sylvie for one reason or another. And so they show up with the Timekeepers, and the Timekeepers look really fucking cool. Like, honestly, like, this set is awesome. The whole thing with the lights, the smoke, and everything looks super cool. But at the same time, you're like, maybe this is a little too cool. And it's weird because you get an odd vibe, and I think the odd vibe was on purpose, but I'll save it. And the thing that was really annoying is that you couldn't fucking understand them. I had to turn on the subtitles to understand what they were saying because they talk really weird. They were talking about this. Honestly, I could not understand what they were saying, and so I had to go back and turn on the subtitles. And the Timekeepers, when they speak, they're not that impressive. Basically, it's like, you're here, and what do you have to say for yourself? Basically, it's funny when that stuff happens to me, because basically it's like you're inviting somebody to say fuck you to your face. It's like there's no good thing that they're gonna say. Like, you're bringing somebody into your office and you're gonna fire them or you're gonna execute them. What are you gonna say to yourself? Like, it doesn't matter what they say, you're gonna kill them. Like, what do you have to say for yourself? The only thing that if they have any self-respect, the only thing they could say is fuck you, go fuck yourselves. Honestly, but all right, whatever. They did this whole song and dance, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, well, because they're like, okay, well, we're gonna kill you, and in the middle of this thing, C40 shows up, gives Sylvie her sword, and a big fight breaks out, right? Everybody's fighting everybody here. Sylvie has her big boss fight with the judge. Loki's fighting a couple of nobodies. In the meantime, the Seekers are just kind of sitting there watching. And here's where things really start getting weird for the audience. You're like, well, why aren't the Timekeepers, you know, doing stuff to protect their agents and stuff? They're just sitting there. They don't even show reactions, which is, again, weird. Usually they'd be like, if they're not fighters, or they would be helping somehow. I don't know. It starts feeling a little weird. Anyway, it ends up with Loki and Sylvie winning, and Sylvie making the mistake. She beats the judge, but she makes the classic mistake of not double tapping the enemy. These people have not seen Zombieland. You always need to double tap. Always double tap. Always double tap. Anyway, so she kind of just like knocks her out, I guess. And she goes over to the Timekeepers and throws a sword to one of their heads and ends up decapitating one of them. And it turns out that, lo and behold, it was actually like a robot. So we got a whole Wizard of Oz situation going on here. And here's where things kind of get interesting. Like I said, you could kind of feel like something was off, and you could kind of tell like something was not right. I mean, you don't take out the big bad in episode 4 of episode 6. And so there was odd vibes all around already. But now it's like confirmed. All right, so these are just puppets. So who is the actual puppet master? What the hell is actually going on? And there's theories galore about this. And there's and I don't want to get too deep into it because, again, they haven't really mentioned this particular character in the MCU in this show. But one of some things that they have mentioned is that they're probably right now in the quantum realm. So it's how can I explain this? How can I do this in a way that makes sense without having to introduce a character? Let's see. All right, first off, a lot of things not making sense here in this show in general, because first off, they say that the TVA exists to prevent alternate universes, basically, right? They want to keep one reality, because if they set up multiple realities, then the worlds will start fighting against each other, right? The timelines would start fighting against each other. So they only have one dimension. They want to keep one dimension. However, we've seen other dimensions within when we've seen while watching the MCU. The perfect example and the easiest example of this is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange travels to the dark dimension. The whole thing is about the dark dimension. And so clearly there's another dimension out there. And so this thing has never really computed with me in this particular show. And we've also seen there's a anyway, and so we've also seen other variants of kind of other dimensions, and we've seen other forms of time travel, particularly going into the quantum realm. And now the quantum realm is not exactly a different dimension; it's a different realm, which I guess could be a different dimension. But anyway, the outgoing theory here is that the big city of the TVA is actually located within the quantum realm, and that's why time moves differently there. Now, I don't. So I understand that theory, and it kind of makes sense, and it has certain amount of footing, and it makes sense why the next movie and why the next Ant-Man movie is called Quantumania. It makes sense why, but it doesn't make sense why Doctor Strange's movie is called The Multiverse of Madness. There's a lot of conflicting things here, and I mean a lot of them, and they're giving me massive headaches, and because clearly Sylvie, the female Loki, is from another dimension because she's from a dimension where Loki's a female. But at the same time, the TVA is supposed to not let that exist. It's madness. Which, again, Multiverse of Madness is an appropriate name. But whatever. Sticking with the theory of the quantum realm. So the theory is that the TVA is actually in the quantum realm because time in the quantum realm passes by differently for one reason or another, which means that the teleporters or the time machines that they use, to create those little time doors, are actually shrinking machines. So they're actually, whenever you go through those things, you shrink. Okay, I'm very confused. Like, I'm very, very confused, and I don't know how they're gonna explain this. I'm hoping they explain it somehow, because at least the timekeepers thing sort of was believable in a way. It's like, oh yeah, we got like 3 god tier beings that control the timeline. It's like, okay, I can at least understand that, but now I don't know where they're gonna go with this. So it's interesting. It's a mystery. It's interesting. I'm just concerned that they're going to try to answer this with bullshit, because so far they've answered everything with bullshit. And I am not a big fan of bullshit when you're trying to be reasonable about stuff, when you're trying to set up rules for a world. Especially for the whole, I'm guessing, to set up the rules for the next stage of the MCU. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, so that's they're trying to figure out, well, who could this be? And and again, this is why you double tap your enemies. Loki ends up getting killed by the judge. Basically, she turns him into dust right as he's about to confess his love to female Loki, and I'm assuming create a catastrophic anomaly in the timeline, which doesn't make it much sense. But anyway, he's dead, so it doesn't really matter. And at this point, you're like, holy shit! Okay, all right. They're gonna come up with bullshit. And so I was excited for a second because, like, oh, okay, this is great. Consequences. And then I was like, oh my god, they're not gonna kill off fucking the main character in the 4th episode again. Just like you're not gonna take out the big bad on the 4th episode, they're not gonna kill the main character in the 4th episode, which means that not only is Loki not gonna disappear, that means that Mobius, the death that actually seemed like it was gonna have consequence, stuff like that, he's gonna be coming back too somehow. And so it's like, man, the one cool thing that you've done so far and you're erasing it, this is bullshit. And I don't know how they're gonna bring him back, but you already know it's bullshit. However, it does bring up the interesting topic of what the hell are those sticks and what do they do really? Because we know Loki ain't dead. Like, we just know it. It's first off, rule number 1 in fantasy and science fiction: nobody's ever really dead, because you can always find a sciencey way or a fantasy way to bring him back. Rule number 2: the main character of a show does not die on episode 4. They just don't. If they would have killed him off on the last episode, I would have been like, okay, all right, fine. Now he's passing on the mantle of Loki onto Sylvie. She's going to be the Loki or whatever. I could have accepted it. But on episode 4, nah, not buying it. Especially when his story clearly was not finished yet. Anyway, so Sylvie ends up, beating out the judge. And she's like, all right, now we're going to have a conversation. You're going to tell me everything. So episode 5 is promising a lot of answers. And there's a scene at the end. Let me see if I can find it. Let me just scroll here real quick. There's a secret scene at the end. Well, it's not secret. It's just the end credit scene, which I think is the first one that this episode has had. And so the end credit scene, we see Loki wake up, which, again, I don't know if I hate it or I don't, because I knew Loki was alive. We knew it. Like, the minute that he disappeared after the shock of, like, oh shit, they killed him, Once reason kicks in, you're like, oh, they didn't kill off Loki. Once that happened, again, I don't know if I'm torn because they didn't let us sit with it a week, but another part of me is like, yeah, they didn't try to pretend like we're idiots for a week. So it might actually end up being a good thing. So honestly, this is a good thing. You know, they let us sit for it for the end credits. That's fine. Okay. Then we got this little Loki's. He's talking to somebody, and God damn it! I gotta be able to find something where you can see them. He gets woken up, and he's telling like, you gotta move if you want to live or whatever. But damn it. I don't think they're going to be able to show him. Let me just do a quick play here and get in trouble later. And so these three. Well, four. So these are, again, alternate versions of Loki. Again, doesn't make much sense because it had already been... It doesn't make sense that there's different versions of Loki unless there's multiple dimensions here. And they already said that there's supposed to only be one dimension. It doesn't make sense why they would be this varied. And so it's just annoying. It's annoying, but now that we kind of understand a little bit more that basically all of this has been smoke and mirrors, maybe there's still answers. Maybe, you know what, maybe we've been getting played this whole time. Maybe there's actually a logical explanation to all of this, and I've been complaining over nothing. Maybe. Honestly, I'm hoping that's it. I'm hoping that's the truth. I'm hoping that's what they've actually been doing, and they've just had people like me pissed off because that doesn't make any fucking sense, this stupid fucking show, when actually everything makes perfect sense. We're just getting played, and just the same way everybody else is getting played. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt a little bit at least, but we'll see how it goes. Let's just say I'm not overly optimistic about the whole thing. Okay, I'm modestly optimistic, and at least, you know, now we got some fun theories going on. Now there's a little bit of a mystery. Now there's a little bit of excitement on the horizon. So, okay, good episode. Honestly, probably the best episode of the show so far. Yeah, by a lot. So we'll see where they go with this from here. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. At least I thought it was fun, except for the massive bullshit from the beginning that they just got saved by bullshit. So that bugged me, but I can let it go if they do something good with it. Anyway, that's it for today. As always, any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Streaming on YouTube and on Twitch at Super Dario World at 2 p.m.-ish on, through Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah. What am I going to do tomorrow? I'm not sure if I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I'll probably will. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I might be going down to Mexico. But anyway, I got a bunch of stuff to do. And like I said, in about 2 weeks, there's going to be kind of big changes going on, or at least an announcement of big changes. So hopefully you look forward to that. As always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next time.